Hello students, this video will go over step number 2 of creating your political poster using Pixlr. This video assumes that you have already added an image and background to your poster. If you still need to do those, please stop this video and go back and watch the first video in this series. So today I'm going to talk about text and emphasis. So when you're designing your poster, again, you want to think about putting a slogan and caption into your artwork. Typically, your slogan is the shortest but largest text in your poster, and it is designed to grab the viewer's attention and also clue them in on what it is the poster is about. The caption is where you want to provide more information, tell them about a website, or direct them to take action to stop some sort of issue, or put in an inspirational quote. When you're thinking about the elements of your poster, you want to think about how each feature is balancing out or works within the whole. So if you make a change to one element, say for example where you place the slogan, you may need to make adjustments to other features of the poster to kind of balance out those things. And when you're thinking about balance, always think about things in terms of visual weight. If something has a lot of visual weight, that means you need to balance it out with some smaller things on the sides. Whereas if everything is the same size, it's a little easier to balance, but most political posters or most posters and most things in life are not all perfectly the same size. So when you're making these decisions, think about, obviously your image is like the most important thing with the biggest, largest visual weight. So you want to think about how you balance out this large feature with some smaller features on the sides, or again, large with 2 or 3 smaller things on the sides. So these are a couple other examples. As we look at these examples, I want you to notice that there are 2 different fonts going on. So when you're picking fonts, the key thing that you want to think about is always that less is more. You don't want 5 different fonts because your artwork will then come across as a little confusing. Think about 2 fonts that go really, really, really well together, but also emphasize your slogan. Typically, when you're pairing fonts, the number 1 rule is that opposites attract. So for example, if your slogan is very thick and bold and heavy, you could pair that with something that is thin and light. Or if you wanted to use script or cursive for an area or a quote, maybe pairing that or contrasting that with a bold area of text as well. I would steer clear of super fun and bubbly fonts because those are don't really go with the protest poster theme. So thinking instead maybe of like tall and short, or thick and thin, or capitals and mixed case is also good. So with that, let's get into Pixlr and talk about how to add your slogan and caption. So here I am in Pixlr. I've got my protest poster, and I'm already beginning to think about where I saved room, where I'm going to put my header and my caption, or my slogan and my caption. And so the tool that we are going to use to place those 2 items is the text tool here with the big T. It's also a shortcut on your keyboard is T. So if you're ever like lost and you don't know where to go, you can just press T on your keyboard and it will take you to the type tool. And I'm going to draw a caption or a slogan first, and I'm just going to draw a big box. I don't want to go all the way to the edge. I'm going to kind of fill that little space. And it is going to default to a really large Latin text, and it defaults to Arial, and it defaults to like the biggest possible thing. I like to just put the font in there first, and then make adjustments to the size and placement. So I do want this a little smaller, so I'm going to use the bottom bar to kind of shrink it down. When you're adjusting things, if you use the bottom bar, it will scale the size of the font to fit within that box. If you use the sidebars, it will not change the size. It just kind of changes the center location. So now that I've placed this here, again, I want that in the middle, I'm going to think about font choices. So I want a big bold font so that this is the biggest and boldest caption or slogan out there. So I'm going to look for a font. I'm going to just click this little font list here where Arial is. You please do not use Arial because that is too basic. Think about bigger, bolder fonts, these thick ones, that have, and think about too the mood that you're going for. If it has a little crown next to it, that means it's part of the pro version, so sadly you won't be able to use those. So I am going to pick a font. I like this one. It has a good outline effect, and I'm just going to click that. So you can see already that it's a little small, so now I can scale it up because I have the font that I've picked, and I'm going to just play with how it fits in that space, still giving room for it to breathe against the side. Next, I'll pick a color that I think goes well with this composition. I want something that contrasts the background. The background is purple, so I think like a light yellow might be nice. And then other effects that you can do. So if I do want to play with the effects of this, I again go back to the type tool, double click on it, and I can change things like alignment. I can maybe make it to the left or to the right or to the center. In this case, I'm going to keep it at the center. I can also play with how close or how far away the letters are. And I can also play with how close or how far each individual word is to each other, or each line space. So I'm going to bring those in a little bit. The other thing is within styles. So there are some different styles you can choose from. Curved will give you a nice kind of curved circle effect. I think this is probably better if you are going to do something with a picture in the middle and the text around it. You could also do a half circle, or an arch will allow you to kind of adjust. Steer clear of that unless you're trying to get it to fit around. Background, we'll put a little background around it, and you can do it line by line, full, or individual word, which in this case, I'm not going to do the background. Outline is nice if you want to kind of give it a little more oomph. So it gives it a second line that goes around the outside. So this is kind of useful. I'm not going to use an outline. The one I am going to use is shadow, though. I do like this shadow effect. And the way shadow works, I'm going to make my shadow black. It gives it just a little, if I turn opacity way up, you can kind of see it more. It gives it that pop out effect, and I can make it really, really far away from the background. I can also make it go to the left or to the right, or I can make it really fuzzy, or I can make it really sharp. I think if I make it too bold, I like this, but it's detracting from the rest of my poster. So I'm going to make it a little fuzzy and turn the opacity down. So we go with that. So that is how you do the slogan, but now I want to think about where my caption is going to go in this space. I've already created a little space here. I may need to adjust the placement of things. I might need to move this down or move it up to get it to fit. I may also even need to change the shape. That's okay too. If I want to change the shape, I can go over to Frame tool, and I can change this to be something at the bottom. And now I have room to put my caption here. Or I could maybe change the whole design and put the picture at the top and then move my slogan and things further down to the bottom. It's harder to, for some reason, I'm having a hard time clicking my text, but you see the idea. Like if you make a change to one thing, you may have to adjust all of the other elements to fit around that one thing. So I'm going to go back to my type tool, and I'm going to draw another box, this time filling this whole space. And I'm going to put, an inspirational quote about AAP I hate that I found on Chrome. Or you could put something like, visit stopaapihate.org to find out how you can help. But it's not fitting well, so I'm going to again resize using this bottom bar to make sure it fits, but then stretch it out and then stretch it out again. And now I again need to make it bigger. So it's a little bit of a noodling game where you kind of shrink it and grow it, shrink it and grow it. But I want to now pick something. I want to pick a font that goes well with this font that is not Arial. So I have a big, thick, bold outline type font. So I'm going to pick an opposite. I'm going to pick a thin font that goes well with it. That one's not really working with my mood. I do kind of like this one. So I'm going to use this one because it's a nice contrast to this bold colors. And to help make it a little bit more unified, I'm going to make this color the exact same color as the other type. And then that way they match. And I might play with the formatting, or not the formatting, the background to add like a line by line gray, and then let me change that color so it's like that dark purple. Just thinking about ways that I can create unity, but I just need to make a couple little minor movements to get that up off the bottom. So I'm just like, when I make a little change here, I make a little change there, make a little change here, but that is it. Once you've placed your slogan, think about where you're going to put your caption, whether it's a caption, a website, or an inspirational quote, or just more information about the issue, and how you're going to balance that out. Once you are finished with your poster, you've laid out a caption, you've laid out or a slogan, a caption, and you have your image. The only other thing I would recommend is just playing around with maybe some other little fun features, which are hidden up under add elements as layer. There are things like overlay, which will give you like some funky textures. You don't need to don't need to be the whole thing. I don't really like that one. So let's choose maybe like abstract lights. Or if you don't really like overlay, you can add a border. There are lots of borders to choose from. These will all kind of help bring attention to the center focus of your artwork. There are some that are a little bit more grungy that'll give it kind of like a weathered grunge vibe. There are others that are more elegant. And then last but not least, if you don't want either of those, there are shapes and stickers that you can use, like maybe if you want to put a heart in there, once you place it, then you can kind of resize. I'm going to get rid of all these other ones because I've like gone and added too many features. I could kind of put this shape behind the letters. So again, I'm going to just take this and kind of drag it behind that caption, and that's how I can make it look like there's something behind it, or maybe I want to put it down here behind the quote but above the picture. It's totally up to you. I'm just throwing out some ideas. When you are finished, so just go to File and Save. Also, in order to upload to Google Classroom, Padlet, Instagram, you also do need to export your image. So to do that, you would go to File, Export, Quick Export as PNG. I can't wait to see your posters. If you have any questions about how to complete this, please email me and we can set up a time to meet. Otherwise, I hope everybody's safe and well and have a great weekend.